Hey guys, this is EJ, and here are my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch after roughly a month. Let's get to it. To start off, I love my Switch. Although it may not be this way for everyone, my experience with the Switch is extremely positive. As of this video, I've bought 5 games and I'm pretty satisfied with how well made they are for the most part. Loading times are fast, game suspension is reliable, and the ability to bring these games on the go is a real treat. The only thing I don't like about some games on the Switch is that frame rate issues may be a problem. Now it's obvious that every console has to deal with performance and frame rate drops. I don't care what console it is, they all have those issues. However, I find these issues more forgivable on the Nintendo Switch. Speaking of games, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is the very first Zelda game I'll have ever completed in my entire life. I've played many other games in the franchise, but Breath of the Wild will proudly have a place in my heart for being the first I've finished, and the first I've really become attached to. Breath of the Wild is an open world game done right. The graphics are beautiful, the gameplay is intriguing, the loading times are very reasonable, and the story is really going to give you the feels. It's absolutely a masterpiece. Everyone with a Switch should have this game, period. Now, this probably won't be a game you would play forever. Once you finish the game, you won't have much to do, which leaves you to waiting for the next new IP or AAA title to release on the Nintendo Switch. However, there's Breath of the Wild DLC coming out later this year. I bought the expansion pass already, so I'll just be setting Zelda off to the side until the new content comes out, which means my adventures in Hyrule isn't exactly over just yet. I'll have my own review of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild coming out very soon. I do want everyone to know though, one thing right now. I'm rating this 10 out of 10. If you don't have this game, you're seriously missing out, and I'm not kidding. On another note, there's not too many games on the Nintendo Switch at the moment. I wish Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ARMS, and Splatoon 2 had come out already, but they'll be coming out later this year. Indie games are cool and all, but first-party Nintendo games are better at retaining my interest. Unfortunately, we have to acknowledge that it's really too early in the year to be talking about games on the Switch. Hence, we really shouldn't be reviewing the Switch in its current state, but we can't turn heads away from the fact that the current lack of interesting games do suck for us existing Switch owners. So gaming is great on the Switch. There are frame drops at times, but again, it's forgivable. People with a Switch would agree, but unfortunately, not every flaw is forgivable. The hardware on the Switch has some problems too. I'm sure many of you have heard about it already. The dock can scratch the screen, and it's not a pleasant sight once you find out that it happened to you. Thankfully, my Switch has never been scratched. People who get their Switches scratched usually aren't careful when docking and undocking the console itself, so if you aren't careful with your stuff, it's about time to learn. However, even I can't leave my belongings dependent on my careful nature forever. I picked up a tempered glass screen protector that I really liked. It's called the Amfilm Tempered Glass Screen Protector for the Nintendo Switch. It comes in a 2-pack, is very easy to apply, and also serves as an annoyance fixer for many of the Switch's few annoyances. If you want to learn more, I've made a video on the screen protector, so please do check it out. Even people of a careful nature can't protect their Switch forever, especially if they bring it outside of home a lot. Therefore, I've come to a conclusion that having a screen protector on your Nintendo Switch is a must if you want to take care of it. You don't have to have a screen protector on your Switch the day you buy one, but you shouldn't go without a screen protector forever. You've got to trust me on this one. Here's another thing, people's Joy-Cons seem to be desyncing regularly. However, that's not exactly the case for me. I've had my Switch since launch, which was more than a month ago. My left Joy-Con had indeed disconnected from my Switch one time, but I simply repaired it again, and thankfully, it never had a desyncing issue since then. Let's hope that it stays that way. The Joy-Cons do need to be calibrated from time to time. Within the time I've had my Switch, I've had to recalibrate motion controls twice. It's not bad, but I have a feeling I'll need to do this again within a month. Speakers on the Switch are alright. At first, you might think it's tinny and not very bass heavy, but I've come to realize that it's actually quite decent. It's not the best pair of stereo speakers in the world, but really you can say that about every pair of small stereo speakers. The ones on the Switch, however, are decent and will absolutely meet expectations. The touchscreen display on the Switch looks great. It's definitely not a TN panel like on some Nintendo 3DS variants, because it's very crystal clear and has amazing viewing angles. It's most likely IPS, but I'm not sure, so don't take my word for it. One thing I hear from my friends is that they wish the display was larger. I didn't agree with them at first. I thought the 6.2-inch display was great, but given time, I'm starting to think that a larger display would have been nice, as long as battery life isn't sacrificed. 720p honestly looks fine on the 6.2-inch display, so I actually have mixed feelings about the whole larger screen situation. In the end, I think the display is fine. Nintendo should leave it as is. Alright, now, let's summarize everything I talked about and add a few pointers. So overall, my experience with the Nintendo Switch has been extremely positive. Nothing too funky has been happening with my Switch, which shows that stability across its hardware and software is definitely present. The operating system is very snappy. I love it so much more than the Xbox One dashboard or the PS4 home menu. Let's just hope it stays that way after future updates. I have 5 games. If you include the Splatoon 2 Global Test Fire, then that's 6. Breath of the Wild is my favorite game as of this video. The rest are fun, but they're kind of just time wasters since they're indie games. The only game I thought was a waste of money at first was 1-2 Switch, but after finding out that my friends liked this game and would actually play it with me, I no longer think that. Performance is great, but there are frame drops in select areas of select games. Keep in mind though that not all games experience frame drops. For the most part, the games that I own run smoothly on the Switch. Hardware issues are a thing, but I've honestly never experienced any of them at its worst. As far as protection goes, I think everyone should get a screen protector for their Nintendo Switch. No questions asked. Other than that, I don't think you have to worry about damaging your Switch. I didn't mention much about the warping issue with some people's Nintendo Switches. All I can say is just be careful. Your system is more likely to warp in your hands than in the dock, and it's usually the result of vigorous handling. So again, just be careful with your Switch. The Joy-Cons are amazing. They feel great. You can play games like Squid, which I thought was kind of funny at first, but it allows you to be in any comfortable gaming position. You have one multi-use USB-C port, but unfortunately, you can't use it to achieve video out without the dock. The display is great. It has a 1280 by 720 6.2-inch standard HD display with some amazing viewing angles. I have no complaints there, but some people might say a larger screen would have been better. The speakers are very decent. I have no complaints here either. The game card slot feels cheap. My friend told me a few weeks back that he thinks it'll break with normal use over time. I unfortunately agree with him. Pulling it out gives me anxiety sometimes. I always feel like I'm bending it back so hard that the flexible material holding the game card cover will break. I find it unusual that the original Nintendo 3DS's SD card cover is a lot more durable than the Switch's cover for the game card slot, but it is what it is. The Switch can get warm, but not too hot. The fans run when it gets really warm. It's surprisingly not crazy loud. And lastly, the Switch in handheld mode is ergonomically comfortable. I like it. It really does feel nice in the hand. Sometimes I just whip out my Switch just to feel the hardware. It's that good. Well everyone, this was my month with the Nintendo Switch. Technically a month and a half now. My experience has been great, and I'm sure it'll get much better when Splatoon 2 comes out. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you liked it, subscribe if you loved it. My time is up, so I'll see you again in my next video.